Okay, so we're back. Question one, part B is what we're going to be tackling next. So for this one, we are going to actually be creating a method, or we're filling in the implementation for a method called get short and name. So same question one account class, but this one you'll notice that it kind of walks us through. We'll just kind of jump straight through the actual instructions for this. But we're going to be writing a get short and named method, which is essentially going to return a shortened version of the instance variable username that we set in the previous part A, with each hyphen in the character immediately before it removed. If no hyphens appear in the username, we're simply going to just return the username as is. So they give us an example, which is always super helpful. Always recommend taking a look at these to make sure you're fully understanding what the problem's asking. But it gives us this, Amy-Marie-Lynn, and this should return this right here. Notice that all of the hyphens are removed, and what's kept, the letter right before the hyphen, is what's removed. So the Y is removed here, the E is removed here, and that's essentially what gets removed in this case. Notice nothing gets removed here because there is no hyphen after this. So it gives us another example where there is no hyphens, and what gets returned is the actual username as is. So let's take a look at part B together. Okay, so walking through this get short and named, let's go ahead and actually grab this prompt here, just so we can have it as we're kind of walking through this code, and then we'll just kind of paste it here. Okay, so this one, like just going back over it, it has some preconditions and post conditions. These are things that one, this post condition is what must be true once this method is completed, so we can't modify username. And these preconditions are things that we can assume will be the case, so we don't have to account for it. So we don't have to account for the case there's consecutive hyphens, and we know that username is always going to have a length that is greater than or equal to 2. So just some things that we can kind of assume as we're walking through it. So the very first thing is that it says that if there are no hyphens, we can simply return the actual username. So quick way to kind of check for this, if we check to see if that username, one of the methods that we have at our disposal is the index of. If we check if that has a hyphen, if this returns -1, that means that there are no hyphens found in the string. We can simply return this username, and we're kind of done there. So this is that part where we want to make sure that we are accounting for both cases. So we are kind of already halfway to completing this problem. So if this is not the case, we jump into this else here. This else is where we're going to account for the case where there are hyphens. So one of the neat things this year is that you guys have on your handy dandy sheet, you have a method for a string called split. If you haven't been using split or you're not familiar, highly recommend you get familiar with it. It's a very powerful method. You can break things into tokens using what's called a regex. So one of the quick ways to kind of do this, we can define a string array because this is what this split method is going to return. We can call it something like token string. And what we can actually go ahead and do is call the split method here, and we can pass in a hyphen. So what's going to happen is if we have something that looks like Amy, Marie, Lynn, this is actually going to return an array that looks like Amy, Marie, and Lynn. So this is what this is going to actually do for us, and notice that it magically removes the hyphens for us, and it makes it very easy by putting each of these tokens, is what they call them, in their own index in the array. So this is what we can kind of use to kind of simplify a lot of like the magic. So from here, we can simply define a short name. This is essentially what we're going to be returning. Reason for that is because this post condition says that we cannot modify the username. And now from here, what we can actually go through and do is loop through here. We're going to start at index 0. So starting at the beginning, we're going to loop through this entire token string here, right? And we're going to increment by 1. So from here, we can simply define a string that's going to represent our token. We can pull that out of here. So this token is going to be equal to Amy first, then Marie, and then Lynn, essentially. And then from here, we can simply append to the short name. So now we can use our substring method. So we get token.substring. And because we know that each of these tokens is going to be here, we can simply grab all starting from the beginning all the way up until that last character. So we're going to actually omit that last character by just subtracting 1 like this. Now, this is almost correct, but the small nuance is that we do not want, right? We only want to do the thing right before the hyphen, which means we're removing this one and removing this one. But as is, it is also going to remove this one. So what we actually need to do is stop 1 before this. By stopping 1 before this, it will actually omit this completely. So we will be concatenating here, here, and we're actually going to stop, and we're going to handle this separately because this is kind of that edge case. So once we go to actually return, simply what we will do is call short name, and we will just concatenate on the back end that last piece, the entire string, so the entire length of what we want, -1, so that we don't go out of bounds. And this is actually going to be what we will be concatenating. So this is how we can go around or go about solving this get shortened name method. We can see here, we have an example here. If I run this and just print this out, let's take a look at what this will look like here. Verify that we get the right output. So in here, we get this Am Marie Lynn 1. Reason for that is because we kind of hard-coded this. But if we assume that this is something like false, meaning that like is available, will essentially return, then we will know, right, that we will get the right thing here. So this is going to be kind of part B of question 1 on the FRQ, and we're going to take a look at the others here in a second.